How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day have sorrow in my heart? How long will my enemy triumph over me? Look on me and answer, Lord my God. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep in death, and my enemy will say, I have overcome him. And my foes will rejoice when I fall, but I trust in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing the Lord's praise, for he has been good to me. That's Psalm 13, all 6 verses of it. But even though it's short, I think it's a really great verse, a really great chapter. I really love it. As I've been struggling with these anxieties and these worries about our current situation, I stumbled upon this psalm and thought, what's more relatable right now than anxiety and worry? And so I want to dive into this chapter, this psalm, and kind of break it apart. Because I noticed there's 3 big parts to this. And so I kind of want to look at those and see how we can apply those to our lives today. And so with the first part, in the first 2 verses, we see David has this great anxiety, this great sadness. I mean, it leads him to cry out to God, asking things like, how long will you forget me? How long will you leave me in my sorrows? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts? And so whenever David was put in a corner, whenever his anxieties and his worries and his fear were too much for him to handle, he turned to God. Now, you're probably thinking like, oh, I've got that down, don't worry. Well, then let's look at the next part. The next part I think we mostly have down. I think most of us are pretty good at this. And that's, he asked God to solve his problems. He says, Lord, bring light to my eyes, give me life. But it wasn't just so that he would have life. He asked for life so that his enemies might not boast in killing him, but instead he might boast in the Lord giving him life. And so he didn't just ask God to solve his problem, he asked God to show his enemies his great power. And then there's a last part. And this part I struggle with so greatly. And I feel like most of us struggle with this. But it's the most important part of this whole psalm. And it's a part that I think that we should start reflecting in our lives. You see, in the last 2 verses, at the very end of this, right after he's cried out to God in pain, right after he's asked God to take that sorrow from him, he rejoices. He says, but I will trust in your unfailing love. And in the final verse, he ends it off in such a beautiful way. I love it. He says, I will sing the Lord's praise, for he has been good to me. He knew the Lord had been faithful, and he knew the Lord will always be faithful. And so in these really stressful times where anxieties are at their highest and we're so worried about people close to us or even us getting sick, or maybe you're stressed about online school and how it's so different and how you aren't getting to see your friends, or maybe you're worried about the future and what it'll look like and how all your plans will work out after this. But it's okay to have that. But let's bring it to God and tell him about our worries, our anxieties, our stress, all that we're dealing with, and let's ask him to take care of it, because he truly wants to. And then once we've asked him to take care of it, let's not go back to our worries, back to our anxieties, back to all that. Instead, let's praise him for what he is going to do for us. Because God has been faithful, and God will be faithful.